Huckabees, I kept saying, say his name, say his name. It was an insult to President Trump. She does not exist politically if it's not for President Trump. She's not intellectually capable of going to the heart of the matter, right? Let's be blunt.
These two chuds are extremely unhappy with Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders and her rebuttal to Biden's State of the Union speech. Why don't we hear more and why they're so upset with her?
Given the fact that Trump had made her to not say to go out of his way, her way, not to say his name, and then to tell the story about the trip to Iraq and not say his name in the story of the trip was outrageous. And you're right, this was like written by Ron DeSantis.
Yes. The only problem with Sarah Huckabee's rebuttal to Joe Biden's State of the Union address was that she wouldn't say daddy's name enough or at all. Say his name, say his name. I want you to say his name. Like, how unbelievably pathetic is this conversation right now?
It's like almost like the worst porn you've ever seen. Like, say his name, say his name. Okay, all right, take it easy. Because he's kind of a prophet, a messiah to them. So you can't take his name in vain.
Yeah.
You also can't not take his name in vain. Okay, you must say it at all. So she had some sort of responsibility to do a giant ad for Donald Trump.
That's exactly what they're saying. Yeah.
Because they're saying, who cares about the Republican agenda? By the way, it's because they know there is no Republican agenda. What laws are they going to pass? Only like, guess what? Because and Hunter Biden and Twitter. Okay, how about wages or healthcare or nothing, right? So since they know they have no agenda, she's like, they're competing over who are you going to do an ad for? Because you have a primetime spot. And by the way, let's be honest about one part of it, okay? They're not wrong about that political calculation because the State of the Union and the State of the Union response are nothing but giant ads. And a bunch of idiots on TV go there, oh, Joe Biden did a great job. That's amazing. He looks so energetic and look at these wonderful proposals. By the way, today, 2 stories out. The easiest ones, $35 cap on insulin, gone, dead on arrival. That you're gonna be shocked to find out the wealth tax. Look, who's honest? Who's giving you honest news? We told you guys, there was no chance Biden was gonna do that. It's dead on the first day. They didn't try, they're liars. So to be fair to Bannon and Lou Dobbs, they're saying, well, your job is to do propaganda. You're not gonna actually do anything that would favor the American people, obviously. So you should do propaganda for our Messiah. Okay.
Yep. In fact, why don't we hear more, unfortunately, from Lou Dobbs during this conversation on Steve Bannon's podcast.
The rebuttal last night. I think that was a great insult to President Trump, not mentioning his name when Sarah Huckabee went to Iraq with the president and the first lady in the dark of night for Christmas with our troops. To not mention his name, to talk about new leadership. It looked like the Governors Association had written that much of that speech and aligned themselves with Ron DeSantis. It was a shame.
It's amazing that that's what they got out of that rebuttal. So when I saw the headline showing that Steve Bannon was gonna trash Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I thought, oh, maybe it's because most of her speech was not only uncharismatic, it focused on the military, which Republican voters, they're not buying into the rah pro-military stuff anymore because many of their family members were sent abroad on multiple tours for these forever wars and they've soured on the military industrial complex, to their credit. No, but it wasn't about that at all. It was all about their daddy Trump. That's all that matters to them. It is amazing to me.
So the political bullets are flying in the right wing, right? And so when I saw the headline, I couldn't decipher why they were gonna be against Sarah Huckabee Sanders, because you remember she was part of Team Trump.
Yeah.
She was his press secretary.
She never had a falling out with him.
And I thought maybe it's like collateral damage. She's an innocent bystander. And they were looking to politically assassinate another Republican and they accidentally hit her. She's the little child on the side, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, because they're like, everyone's against each other. I can't keep it straight which Republican wants to tear the face off the other Republican. which is all kind of fun, of course, right?
Yep.
But, and I thought the same thing. I thought, #Anna was right. Are they pissed about the militaristic tone? But then with Bannon, he's hilarious because he's like, he pretends to be against wars because that's a Trump position. He thinks it's a populist position, et cetera.
Yeah, but he wants us to go to war with China.
And his show is called The War Room.
I know. Okay.
Okay, but also, I want to get out of Afghanistan. I can't believe Biden got out of Afghanistan.
Right.
So there's of course no principle. Of course it all comes back to cult of personality.
100%. Okay, so I want to go to the final clip here because if you think that they didn't go after DeSantis, you would be mistaken. Let's watch.
It was a metaphor for what the donor class is trying to do to Donald Trump right now. That is, use his 4 years as president as a template and model for a rhino presidency that they can control. The issues today are not much different than 2016 when President Trump was running and elected. They can't stand it, that they can't control him, and that he is, in point of fact, an America first patriot. He means it when he wants to make America great, and he has proven that he will deliver.
So they think that DeSantis is a rhino. I think that's hilarious because DeSantis literally mimics everything that Trump did. He even mimics his mannerisms. I mean, they're very clear on which corner they're in when it comes to this Trump DeSantis, brewing battle. And I'm here for it.
Yeah, look, the more I read into this story, the more I realized, oh, no, it's actually kind of important because it's not a stray political bullet, right? No, they meant it. And what is happening is two things. One is all of the lunatics are lining up on Trump's side, and almost all of the powerful are lining up on DeSantis' side. So, and when I say the powerful, I mean right-wing media. Not these guys, they're too small, but like the Fox News of the world, at least their news division, et cetera. A lot of right-wing radio, almost all of the Republican politicians and mainstream media, right? So once I saw, and this is now the beginning of those camps being more clearly defined. Because in the beginning, it looked like a lot of the MAGA guys were annoyed at Trump too. So there was like real MAGA guys who were like, hey, Trump cost us the election in 22 and he's too self-indulgent and we gotta move on. No, all the MAGA guys are now starting to go back to Trump.
Yeah, okay? They are, yep.
And in a battle between MAGA lunatics and all the powerful people in the Republican Party, I think MAGA lunatics win.
I think you're right.
And I after I saw this and a couple other news stories in the last couple of days, I was like, oh no, Trump's the favorite again in the Republican Party. Yeah, we can't get rid of the guy.
And that is concerning, right? Because if I were to have my way with the outcome of the Republican primaries, I would prefer someone like a DeSantis, right? Because DeSantis isn't going to try to pull what Trump did on January 6th, right? They stand for the same policies at the end of the day. We got to be real about that. But one of them just is so egotistical and narcissistic that he is willing to destroy what we have left of our democratic process just to remain in power. And that's terrifying. So we'll see what happens. We're gonna keep looking into this and covering it.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.